Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. We got some interesting things happening right now as we speak, as Trump has recently removed a member from the Fed. Right now we see futures that are trading slightly in the red. It'll be interesting to see how the market reacts tomorrow. This is all on top of a lot of investors basically waiting to see what the market's going to do from Nvidia's earnings, but that's not going to be happening until Wednesday after the bell. And you have Nvidia that came out with a big announcement today regarding one of their chips and in terms of how far they are advancing. Palantir also on their side of things, interesting price action today, pretty good for the bulls. We're going to be talking about that and breaking everything that you need to know along with some other very volatile stocks as we speak. Some interesting ones that are up and coming and some that are pretty crazy, even though we have choppiness in the market. So hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. Pop it up on the screen here. Let's get right into it. Palantir opens up today. Now opens up about down 5%. And I was like, holy Toledo, what a big red candle this is coming in here. We see Palantir that immediately drops down to about 150 right here, but then has a good reversal. And you can see kind of probably relies on some of these previous support zones right here down at these 150s. Palantir was able to recover quite well and ended up basically just consolidating on the day, hanging out here in the mid 150s, consolidating there. Palantir, that's where it basically consolidated at these all-time high levels before the quarter earnings, before it gapped up here. So basically coming down here after about that 20% drop from all-time highs and hanging out is relying on these previous consolidation and support zones. And you can see that they are working right now for the bulls in terms of just being able to hold out here, waiting for the market to make its next move, or Palantir specifically to make its next move. So being very resilient, I would say. In the overnight hours, only down about $1.50. Doesn't really, it's just kind of correlating with futures right now. Right now at 155.63. The big thing that we do have in the market, let's talk about Trump, what's happening. From record, Trump, they say, escalates attack on the Fed independence. Now, what's really happening here is Trump removed the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from the board of the central bank. The futures fell about 71 points or about 0.15% on S&P 500 futures. So not a crazy move, but it could signal kind of how market and pre-market's going to be basically trading. In terms of these stocks right here, what's been happening with the Fed, this is adding pressure from the president that's really been putting on the central banks. They talk about, independence here. As we know, Trump's really been signaling for rate cuts. By law, though, in terms of removing this governor of the Fed, the president may only remove the Fed governor for a cause. And as a result, it is possible that the matter will be challenged in the courts. In terms of overall power in the Fed right now, there's currently 6 members in the Fed board, with one of the seats vacant after we had a recent resignation earlier this month, and removing the current one that just got removed, Cook, would leave 5 members with non-Trump appointees still holding a majority. So in terms right here with Fed Powell too, he's going to be leaving after his term expires in May. This would give the president a 5th vote. So this is where you're seeing this headline here. Oh, is Trump going after the Fed independence, trying to get his people in? I mean, these are just political moves, I think, in my opinion, right here. In terms of how the market's going to react, though, it'll be interesting. I still think in terms of, even though we have all this, political tension in terms of, rate cuts, where should they go? Nonetheless, I'm more bullish on the market, not due to that, but more long-term. The dominant theme of this market is AI, and I think a lot of people can hop on board with that, and that's what we're seeing with Nvidia right now, and a lot of eyeballs that will be looking at Nvidia. Before we look at that individual stock, I mean, the market does come back about 0.4% here, a little bit of a profit taking and some cooling off after the big rally that we had after Jackson Hole on Friday. So an S&P above 6,400 is still pretty bullish. I mean, at 64.39 right now, we'll see what happens. In terms of we continue to see a pullback in the market, especially at market open, the support at 6,400 could likely be tested since that was a lot of resistance there. We'll see if we get a support resistance flip. Anything below that, maybe you're going to start to tap into that whole historical type of August and September seasonality. Like I said, I think Nvidia is going to have a big play in that. Speaking of Nvidia, it's actually doing quite well. Where it sits right now is at 179.94, so basically right at this 180 level. We do have a big announcement from Nvidia right here that Amma had posted that they had officially introduced their new humanoid brain called the Jetson Thor. Now, this is going to be powered by Blackwell and offers 7.5 times more AI compute and 3.5 times greater energy efficiency. It unlocks a real-time reasoning inference. It talks about here critical for highly performant physical AI applications, and Meta, Amazon, and Figure are all early adopters. Interesting to see Meta's coming into this game, retailing here at about $3,500. So you can see Nvidia obviously strategically planned this out before earnings, and this shows you robotics is going to be a big, gigantic sector for Nvidia. We've seen Jensen that's came out and has talked about robotics. So here is the chips and the actual compute power that is being produced in actuality and coming to fruition for Nvidia's sustained growth over the next decade. That's what I'm more excited about right here. Right now, Wall Street is expecting after the bell on Wednesday to see the chip maker posting an earnings of $1.01 per share on $46.13 billion of revenue. Now, personally, I think Nvidia has had an amazing quarter. They've always done quite well with earnings. I think Nvidia will beat their earnings, and it'll just be interesting to see how the market actually reacts. There is a lot of volatility that does play around Nvidia, and a lot of people trying to trade around earnings come that time. So please be careful out there looking at Nvidia, because earnings, like I said, are happening in just a few short days. Some of the big stocks that are starting to become pretty hot right now in the market is SOFI. And SOFI right here, almost at all-time highs. A lot of people calling for SOFI to 30, just looking at the setup right here. And people calling for SOFI, hey, could it have a Robinhood type of like a momentum that we saw Robinhood push up from the 25 to 30s all the way up to 100, and we still don't have S&P 500 inclusion? Is SoFi going to be on the table for another possibility of being included into the S&P 500? I believe they recently just got over the market cap that a lot of people are talking about and trying to meet that criteria. So SoFi here at 26, in terms of fintech, it's been getting a lot of exposure. Robinhood, I mean, look at their climb. Been hanging out here now at 107. Is it time for SoFi's run? Don't know. I don't have a personal position in this, but I will be doing some more research into SoFi because it is an interesting play, and especially right now, a lot of retail is putting it on their radar. Some of these big stocks that I've also been checking out is Nebius. We've been talking about this. That's had a really nice gap up ever since their earnings from the mid-50s up here to the 70s. And specifically what I've been looking at is CoreWeave. CoreWeave is at a very interesting spot because we know CoreWeave, ever since their IPO, had an amazing run-up. We've seen companies that have been starting to take a stake. However, we've seen some selling pressure due to lots of insiders after the IPO lockup selling tons and tons of shares. However, CoreWeave, I think, is going to be impacted by Nvidia's earnings. In terms of what CoreWeave is doing, is trying to build out the full AI stack infrastructure for AI cloud computing. Basically, for companies that can't afford the AI chips, you can rent the computing power from CoreWeave. If Nvidia shows you that there's a large demand still for AI chips, and in terms of just getting involved with artificial intelligence, that's where you can see some of these big cloud data centers, and Nvidia does have a big stake in CoreWeave that could have a positive or a negative reaction depending on how Nvidia is going to trade post earnings. I'll be keeping these stocks on my radar too personally. Other than that, the other stock that's really been on a big retail kind of frenzy is Open. My opinion of Open right here is this is just a big trading type of casino gamble play right now. We don't know where Open is in terms of the fundamentals of the company. I personally haven't done a ton of research to generate my own opinion. But what you've seen is this is a momentum stock that is really starting to take the internet by storm, having a type of kind of, I would say, philosophy of the whole GameStop AMC is what Open kind of reminds me of. You see these large swings of volatility here up to about 560, 570, and then a huge sell-off, basically almost giving all that back down here at 450. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Open in terms of just their trading, their long-term potential, or is this going to be a trend that fizzles out? But I urge everybody, please be careful out there. One thing about Open, though, is a lot of people are probably trading this stock on Robinhood. Of course, Robinhood does have a lot of serious investors behind it, but there are also a lot of what you could call casino type plays on Robinhood. So, I mean, more trading on Robinhood, more users does help this stock inadvertently. That's all about I have for you guys. Peace out. Take care. I'll catch you guys later. What do you guys think about this? Where do you see the market going?